Wow. So how did that work out for you? You quit your job in 2017, I guess,
Yes.
and you started a business, a digital marketing business, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So what was the journey like for you going from idea to not just solutions, not just creations, but profitable creations? Like, at what year did you become profitable? And did you ever feel like quitting? How did you overcome all of those hurdles?
Yeah, no, great questions, and I'm glad you asked that because I feel like that's kind of the untold story about a lot of entrepreneurship because it hasn't always been sunshine and daisies. So to give you the advent of the idea, I like I said I was working a professional job, had started kind of climbing the ranks of the corporate ladder, and I think that when you start a professional career, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of novelty. I worked for a really great company. I had great mentors during my time there. Like I'm very grateful for the time that I spent in corporate America and what I was able to take from that. But I remember very specifically, I actually had gone on a vacation with my now fiance, soon to be wife. And it was the first real break that I took from the corporate world, right? And this was around, I want to say September of 2016. And, the last day of the trip, I was really sad. And I couldn't put my finger on why. But she, kind of explored with me and asked, and I realized that I was dreading going back to work. And for a number of different reasons, pressure, expectations, all these things. And during that time, I realized like, hey, I need to do something different than what I'm doing right now. And I had tried starting a couple businesses. The key thing was that they didn't make any money. So they quickly sort of burnt out. But those I look back on as well with a lot of appreciation because those were lessons that I needed to learn, right? Like each business that I started before I started my agency, taught me things, how to build a website, how to do SEO, how to create a blog, like all these things that eventually would suit me in my social media agency journey. And long story short, came back from the trip and texted my now business partner, Derek, who I'd worked together with in the past. And I said, hey, like I'm thinking of starting a business. At the time, it was a completely different idea, which I'll don't need to get into. But he said, hey, I also am pretty unhappy in my job. Let's chat. And he was working at a very large marketing agency for law firms, but he was on the sales side. And he said, hey, like our margins are crazy.